Hey everyone, welcome back to the online lab series, lab session for building great experiences with 4D systems. My name is Sherman. If you haven't met before, whether you are watching live or you are watching the rebroadcast session right now, I'd like to welcome you to this lab series. Now, this whole entire lab series, if you have not watched the previous video, we basically want to talk about smart displays, designing smart displays, as well as building with focusing on UX and CX, right? Customer experience, user experience. But before I go into the lab series proper, the lab session right now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a very quick moment to share. Okay, so I'm finally back. I was just taking a moment to actually share this session on the various social media platforms. Like I said earlier, when I first started the session. And then, of course, right now, what I want to do is I want to talk about what we're going to be doing today, what we'll be looking into as well. And then, I'm going to also show you the hardware itself. So I sort of bought this really nice HD webcam right now. It's actually meant for professional live streaming, I think. Um, but of course, it's not the highest end. Right? It's not 4K Logitech webcam, but I think it's good enough. I actually did a trial run before this session. Just it's always good for educators and instructors to sort of prepare your setup beforehand, so that during the setup itself, you don't spend a lot of time trying to adjust the settings and so on. So I sort of have everything laid out here properly. Actually, I had everything laid out properly actually. So it should actually go on quite smoothly today. At least fingers crossed. That's what I hope. All right. So today there's a lot of great things we want to talk about. Definitely, the first part of the session today, we are going to look at the hardware itself. We are going to focus on Gen 4 displays. The Gen 4 smart displays are part of I would say, the newer series of displays by 4D systems. Now, in the previous session, I actually did a quick start. I showed a quick start, but somehow the hardware itself, the loading of the display didn't seem to work for some reason. I kind of figured out that later on that it's because I used the project that was created for another display that was different, and when I switch over and focus on creating a brand new project for the current display uh, that is being showcased, everything worked fine. So today we're going to do that. We are going to basically go through all the steps of how to actually uh, connect your displays together. And after you have connected the displays together, we will then focus on um, basically how you're going to design the displays using Workshop for IDE, which is created by the 4D system team. Being a professional software developer by training, I will be very honest that, and they have asked me to be honest as well about how they can improve and so on. So I thought these videos would be a very good place to do that, because after all, what all this education is about is to help you, the learners, understand how to actually um, make the best of the products. In order for you to know how to make the best of the product, you have to be able to understand what are the strengths and limitations of the products itself. And then based on that, we will explore the various use cases. So all of that will be covered in this whole entire lab series. But because we are only in the second session right now of the lab series, we will not dive in too deep just yet. So hold on to your horses. There are greater things ahead. And in fact, I also want to take a moment during this lab series to just address how last week has been for us. Last week, I was actually kind of busy trying to manage all the different brand partnerships that were onboarding with us. The thing is this: we do not want to stop growing. In fact, we want to keep growing. By the continuation of growth, it also means that we have to continuously manage the quality of our learning content. Now, the whole idea of this lab series is that I do not want to take on too many lab series at one go. Obviously, right now it's just myself. So if you expect me to do all the lab series every single day for 1 month, I wouldn't have the time to really prepare the content properly beforehand. So that is going to be an issue, which is why there is a very huge emphasis when it comes to the quality control of the learning content itself. So as of right now, for June itself, we I have sort of frozen the lab series lab curriculums of all the brands that are going to start in June. That's it. We'll still be building brand partnerships along the way, and then we will plan those lab series in July and August and so on. So this will give us some time. This will give me some time to actually sort of organize the lab series, to plan everything out, so it doesn't feel like it's very cramped and everything is just so jumbled up because they are so packed together. So that is not the goal, and that is not my intention for the lab series. And for whoever's watching and learning, even if you are watching live or you are watching the rebroadcast, you won't feel that it's too diluted because everything is too cramped up. So I want to feel comfortable and have enough time to really plan and explore the hardware's functionalities together with you. Now, the thing about doing product training, product education, is that you have to understand the hardware. You have to get to know the hardware. I do have some sort of uh, product training background. All right, so I have developed a few techniques and skills for myself to really know how to pick up different products from different brands in a relatively short period of time. But for anybody that's new to the product, obviously you won't be able to progress at the speed that I'll be progressing. So that's why the lab series has to be well planned. It has to be well organized, well structured, so that whoever is following along with the lab series will eventually find that the flow works for them as well. I mean, I can't please everybody. There's no way I can please everybody in this world, but I will really put in the effort to make sure the learning content is well planned out and organized. All right. So I really appreciate it. I think it's also good at this time if you're watching or you are viewing live, if you are doing a rebroadcast, it's always good to just leave a comment and also let me know how was the video, how was the audio doing while you were watching. So that will really help me to improve in future lab sessions as well. There is a question by one of the viewers about which model I'm actually using. So let me just get the box for you, and then I'll just show you which one. It's actually the 4.3-inch resistive touch display. So this is the one that I'm going to showcase later on during the lab series. I know that the HD camera, I'm still getting used to it because it will autofocus, and I want it to autofocus because as I'm showing different things, it will, it will sort of focus on the object, which is what I want. So for the 4.3-inch Gen 4 smart displays, there are three options. One is the normal display. There's no resistive touch. There's no capacitive touch. Then there is the one which I just showed you, is the resistive touch model. And then you have also the capacitive touch model as well. So those are the three options. For the lab series itself, my recommendation would obviously be for you to get one capacitive touch. As we progress along the lab series, we are going to explore all the different interactions, functionalities, how you're going to interact with the displays, and we'll talk about customer experience. We'll talk about user experience, which is human hardware interfacing. So all these things, it will become important for you to understand how to apply that knowledge or that design practice that I will be sharing later on in the lab series. So that's my recommendation. But then again, you might have a different project requirement that you want to, I would say, learn on the job. So you are watching this lab series to understand about the hardware. At the same time, you're actually trying to build your prototype and project, and you might not need a capacitive touch display. You might just need a resistive version. It's fine. Everything in this lab series, I am going to cover everything. So basically what I mean by everything is that if a display has capacitive touch, resistive, and non-touch capable, I will just cover the capacitive, which includes everything else. So don't worry, you won't miss out anything during the lab series, right? So I am going to move my camera around so that the webcam will actually focus on the hardware right now. Okay, so let me just adjust. It will take a little while for me to adjust the display. So again, this I'm using a new webcam. So, but I love the webcam. The quality is actually really good. Great, the angle is perfect. So let me see if I can pull it over just a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the hardware. This display module uses the Diablo 16 processor, which actually has a lot of amazing functionalities. So um, you won't see it here because I am not sharing my screen just yet. But I'm just going to bring up the product page, product info page, and I'm going to introduce you to some of the functions and features of this hardware. You will probably, okay, sorry, let me try and see if I can refocus better. I do apologize if it takes a while to refocus, depending on the distance and so on. So then again, just know that this webcam, it's good enough for basic setup, budget setup, but uh, obviously it's really not ideal. I have used a better setup before in the past, more professional and so on. So definitely better than this. Um, but yeah, you know, it's the best I can do with what I have. So I ask that you be patient with me. Mm, it should refocus. Why is it not refocusing? Hang on, let me shift my display a little bit. Well, like I say, this is the kind of live lab series that I like, whereby I don't feel rushed to go through it. It's not just a pre-recorded session, but just know that I will actually prepare a pre-recorded video after this live session so that it will actually be uploaded together with the post session article. So that pre-recorded video will be recorded with the highest and best resolution possible. So anybody anywhere can watch it at whatever resolution they want. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the trouble. Earlier when I moved the camera away and then now I move it back, it's sort of it's out of focus. Oh, I think I know why. Because I was doing it flat. Mm, sorry if it's a bit annoying for you guys. If I'm trying to shift it around to focus, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm using a Logitech HD webcam, so I just need to launch the settings and do a manual focus instead. I think that would be better. Okay, so yeah, the camera, the webcam that I'm using doesn't have touch screen. I mean, it's a webcam, so it's not it's not exactly a camera to focus. So I do have the webcam controls, but somehow the webcam controls doesn't seem to be working. So it's kind of frustrating in a sense, but yeah, I'm using budget setup, So yeah, please bear with me, guys. I honestly look forward to being able to upgrade my whole entire setup, and have a proper equipment and so on, because this is honestly not the best, if I have to be honest. Anyway, let me just try to use something to clean it up instead. So we can focus better. I'm trying to use my soldering cord to put it behind the display so that it will prop up nicely. It's focusing, right? I do notice that it's focusing better. Okay, finally. Okay, now we can get to the right business of stuff. Ah, just let me know if you are able to see this clearly now. I'm sorry that it took me a little while to get the setup and angle and display. I apologize for that. Um, well, if I can afford a second webcam and I can sort of do two webcams at the same time, I think that would be perfect. But I mean, again, I'm probably just dreaming about that being a possibility. So anyway, just to quickly share, let me also bring up my product info page. Okay, so basically, this is actually the 4.3-inch LCD TFT display powered by Diablo 16. All right, so the resolution for this display is 480 by 272 resolution, right? In terms of pixel. So, and there are 6 banks of 32 kilobytes of flash memory for your user application code, your coding, your program that you want to load. if you want to actually load it to the RAM, that is where you will load it as well. Hey, did I lose focus? Something? Sorry, I know it's it's free focusing itself. I guess this webcam sort of tries to calibrate. The first time before while I was practicing the setup earlier, it also took a little bit of time to recalibrate. So I know that it's a little bit annoying, but once the calibration is okay, it actually is fine. I'm just going to I can actually bring it to some. Okay, so actually it was fun. Okay, so yeah, I know it's refocusing a little bit, so just bear with me. Okay, so towards the right hand side on your screen, you will see that there is actually the micro SD card slot. This is where you can put in your application code you want to load into the micro SD card. The micro SD card, when you buy the starter kit, it comes together with it. It will have a 4 GB micro SD card. So honestly, from a developer's perspective, as an application uh, engineer, you honestly should not need to build a program that is so big. To be honest, I think that 4 GB is more than enough for most cases. Okay, and then we have the let me bring up the tool. So within the Diablo display, we have 32 kilobytes of SRAM, right? Together with 6 banks of 32 kilobytes, which I spoke about earlier. There are 16 general purpose IO pins, the GPIO, all right, which also includes 4 configurable and analog inputs. So the various GPIO can also be configured for their alternative functions like I2C, right, SPI, dedicated for the SD card. And there are 3 configurable SPI channels, right? And then there is also the TTL serial combination port that's available. Up to 6 of the GPIOs can be used as pin counters. There are 6 GPIOs that you can use for PWM, whether is it simple PWM or to use it to control your servo motors and so on. So there are also 10 GPIOs for pulse output, 40 GPIOs that you can configure for quadrature encoder inputs, 2 channels. Right. So you will have the 30-pin FPC connector connection. Am I correct? I hope I said it correctly. Yeah. Yeah. So you use that for programming, right? So that is. Let me see. Okay. So I'm just going to take a moment to share my screen. And then we're going to look at the data sheet for the Diablo 16. I am presenting the screen, so you should be able to see my screen, but just let me know if you cannot see it, so I know. Hmm. I don't seem to see the screen myself, so let me just try again. Oh, can see my screen. Okay, okay. Thanks for letting me know because I'm using the Google Hangouts on Air, so somehow I'm not sure why I don't see my own screen. So I just needed to sometimes make sure that everything is working accordingly. So I appreciate the feedback to know that you can see what I'm trying to present. I am going to maximize the data sheet. Okay, so you can download the data sheet from their product page. Just go to the bottom. So okay, so you can read here that the Diablo 16 processor is a custom embedded 4D graphics controller. So you can actually write physical 4D code and then download it onto your smart display itself. So that is something that we can explore later on in the lab series as well. Oh yeah, so I am actually seeing the online lab series logo, so not too sure why. But I think most importantly, if you are able to see the screen that I'm sharing, then everything is fine. But just let me know if you're seeing the screen before I continue. Okay, so I take it that you can see my screen, the screen that I'm sharing, based on the thumbs up. So we're just going to continue the lab series now. Okay, so let's look at all of this theory stuff, data sheet stuff. The thing is this, I try not to spend too much time on it because ultimately this lab series is not meant to focus on the theory but more on the application portion. But I think it's important to help you understand how to navigate the data sheet to make the most of it so that it will help you in your own application development process as well. Okay. I think the most important section in the datasheet that you probably should be concerned with is actually the pin summary. So the pin summary is where you can actually see what is available, the pins and the functionality, understand the different pinouts. Mm. But one thing good about the Gen 4 UPA adapter, all right, which I will show again later when I switch the screen over to the hands-on practical. You will see that the Gen 4 UPA module, okay, let me just bring it up. Okay, so this Gen 4 UPA, it will be the mainstream programming adapter that will replace the older generation, the older versions. So it's really cost effective. It's only US 9.95, which is about here based in Singapore. It's only like $13. So it's honestly really cheap. And it's good. Just get a bunch of this because honestly, if you have multiple display projects that you need to work on, it wouldn't make sense for you to just have one, right? So obviously, if you purchase as a starter kit, display purchase as a kit, it will come with it as well. So that is also another good thing about it. Okay, so there is a 30-way FCC connector for the UPA module. The 30-way FFC connector is meant for you to connect with your Gen 4 LCD display modules, which is what I was just showing you. On the other opposite side of it is actually the 10-way. So you can see here, this is the bigger one, the wider one. This is for your Gen 4 display modules. Now over here, the smaller one is actually for your sort of IO Internet of Displays, right? The Internet of Displays module, which also has the ESP8266 on it. So one programming adapter that serves two range of displays, which is amazing. So you no longer need to have two separate programming adapters. Okay, so next thing. There are actually, oh yes, I should mention that there are breakout pins available. So if you want to have greater control over the displays, as well as communication, whether is it to attach to a sensor or servo motor controlling, like what we were talking about earlier. This is what you can do with the UPA programming adapter. There are a lot of other information. Feel free to read it and check it out. Honestly, I can tell you very honestly that I don't dive into this. As a user, I'm more focused on getting up and running, understand the UI, the Workshop 4 IDE, how to make use of it, and really to just get it up and running. And I'm more focused on the application, right? So this theory part, for some of you, you might actually enjoy reading it. So I'm just showing you where to get it, and then you can spend your own time. In your own time, you can go and look it up and read about it. All right. Okay, so I am just going to go back to the hardware itself. Okay, so back to the hardware. Before I flip the hardware over and I'm going to start showing the Workshop 4 IDE, I also want to take the camera. I'm going to physically use my hand to move the camera around. So this is actually the Gen 4 40, let's say the 40 UPA. Okay. Okay, okay. I'll just bring it up. Oh, is it inverted? No, it's fine. It should be fine. Okay, so the Gen 4, you can, these headers come with the package when you get the starter kit. When they come with it, or if you were to get the module itself, the adapter module itself, they will come with these header pins. This header pins that you see on the back, these are actually the ones that I soldered in myself. I sort of did it when I was feeling stressed about project or I was stressed about money. So I sort of relaxed and did this, and I actually was admiring my work for it. When I first started electronics many years ago, I honestly didn't know how to solder. So I was kind of happy that I was kind of happy with my soldering results this time. So yeah, this is where you can program the display, right? Okay, let's focus back on the hardware. Okay, so always remember, if you want to start working with Gen 4 displays, it's always good to have the cable well secured and securely adapted. Now, I'm going to try and bring this closer. Okay, so I know they will try to autofocus a little bit, and it's a little bit annoying. Just know that I will improve on this in future sessions. This has to be well secured, so that is very important. How do you know if it's well secured? The first part of the cable, this little part here, will actually be flattened out, so you will know that it's actually fully secure. If it's not fully secure, you can still use it, but the chances are if the connection is not secure and loose, it will be a little bit hard to do certain things when you want to program the display, or whether is it to create communication, serial communication, and so on. Right. So I am going to flip the display over now. So okay. It was actually a little better earlier, so I'm not sure why it's not really. I'm just going to leave it here, and then when we start building up the display, you'll be able to see what it will look like and so on. What I'm going to do today is I will just, since there's nothing for you to see here, I'm just going to move over back to the screen sharing. Let me just start up the 4D systems first. I say in the workshop for IDE. Sorry. Oh yeah, for one thing that you need to take note is that if you're using the okay, so if you are using the UPA, universal programming adapter, you will need to download the adapters driver and install it onto your Windows workstation. Okay, it looks much better. It's auto-focusing a little bit, I know, but I think it should be okay. I hope it will be. Let me just put okay, it looks good. Nice. Hopefully. And because I'm also trying to watch myself while I'm doing this live, it's a way of me knowing how you guys would see it as well. So I'm just going to. Okay, don't worry. We're just going to up my workshop 4 IDE is already up and running. So I'm just going to move screen sharing over to that. Let me know if you can see the workshop 4 IDE. It's a good thing I asked. Uh, Listen to everyone. Okay, I've clicked on present to everyone, so hopefully it will work. Let me just, wait, hang on, hang on. I'll just try and share my whole screen instead. I'll share my whole screen. Okay, you should be able to see the entire screen now. Um, I also want to check and make sure that what I'm displaying is okay. Okay, yes. I'm also looking at my, I'm using my own mobile phone to show what I'm seeing. So this is good. Maybe I should do this next time as well. Use my own mobile phone and tune in to the series. Yes. I'm also looking at my, I need to move. Mobile phone show what I'm seeing. Sorry, you must have heard that. I was just trying to make sure I can see myself properly. I can't seem to mute myself. That's weird. Okay, let's get started. Let's create a new project. And then we will choose the display. In this case, we are using the Gen 4 DT, which is our resistive touch display. So you can see from what I'm sharing on the screen, there are actually, it talks about the different available options. For example, in the model code, if you were to notice, if you want to get a product, right, there is the back of the code. Sometimes if it's writing CLB, CLB is actually the model with the cover lens bezel. That is usually for the capacitive touch. Okay, next. So at this screen, you'll be presented with a couple of options. You can start with the designer. Obviously, the designer is a pure programmer's interface. So we definitely will not get into it right now. But later on in the lab series, we will actually get into more of the 4DGL. Okay, the next option is actually, okay, I will talk about VZ Genie first. All right, VZ Genie is the one that is just fully drag and drop. So this is especially good for people that just want to get started with designing the UI and not wanting to do any coding. So this VZ Genie is actually that it fits that genre of users or that group of users. The next one is VZ. VZ is actually the one that creates a hybrid design developer experience between using 4DGL as well as drag and drop. So that is what you can work with. Then finally, we would have this serial environment that will also provide you, is provided to transform the display into a slave serial module. So you can control the display from any host microcontroller or device with a serial port. So when we get into Arduino, Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone, we will start to look a little bit into this as well. So we will keep that into later sessions. So for today, for this session, we are going to look at VZ first. So once you load the display, this is the very first thing that you see. All right, just going to open it up. Okay, so like any IDE, I'm just going to share a little bit about the IDE as well as what is available and how you can navigate on the IDE itself. Uh, because obviously, for some of you, you might actually be looking at this ID for the very first time, so everything is going to be really strange for you. So don't worry, I'm going to guide you through. I'm going to show you what you need to do, how you're going to do it, and there'll be a couple of more series, or sorry, a couple of more sessions later on that I will touch on individual functions and features that are available through the IDE itself. Okay, so obviously the very main workspace that you're going to have here is actually the 4DGL editor, the coding editor. On the right hand side, on the top, you will have the form. So this form area is where we're going to drag and drop our controls later on. You can choose not to pin the display, and you can drag it out so that it can appear as a separate window. Sometimes I like to do this, especially if I have a bigger screen. And when I can upgrade to a better workstation, a dedicated Windows workstation with a larger monitor, I will definitely be able to sort of put everything out and showcase it, and it will be a lot better than this. I have a limited screen size, limited screen estate, so I would have to make do with what I have. Yeah. Okay, so basically, let's just. Sometimes I couldn't get the. Okay, so one of the things that I feel that the workshop for IDE can be improved on is actually the screen organization. How the workspace organization. Um, Clearly, if you ever use the IDE like Visual Studio, they actually set a really good standard. But obviously, they have been doing software development IDs for so many years. But I think that really sets the standard, the user experience that is for developers. So it's probably good for the team at 4D Systems to take note of that and sort of use that as a way to plan their um, IDE, their improvements and so on. Okay, so yeah, on the right hand side is display, and then we have the object inspector. This is where you will be able to modify the different properties of your objects, the widgets that you're going to drag and drop onto this display. And then there'll be options for you to paste code or paste all code. I'm going to talk about this later as well. So we're going to cover all of this during this session. So one thing to note is that, you know, this part of the main for the project itself, the code itself, is already commented. So when you want to program the interface, you have to uncomment it, because it won't. If you don't uncomment this section, it will not mount the image file. All right, the file that we're going to compile and upload onto the display. So this is something that you should probably take note. And yeah, sometimes even for me, that when I'm already used to using this interface, even I forget sometimes. So it's good to always remember this. Otherwise, you just compile and then you load the file, and then you'll be wondering, well, hey, why did the image not load? Why did my screen not refresh properly? So yeah, just take note of this. All right, so right at the top, you have your ribbon toolbar, right, where you can perform some of the most basic functions, like creating a new project, open an existing project. You can cut and paste as well. Um, you can go to, you can collapse your code, expand it, or you can compile and upload. So this compile is basically just to compile the program into the file. It doesn't load the program. So this compile and load will allow you to load your actual output file onto the micro SD card. And then you will have to insert the micro SD card back onto the display itself. I won't go to view yet, but I'll talk about view much later on. But view basically just toggles like the object inspector, right? So in this case, I've already opened it. So if for some reason your object inspector is not showing, okay. Okay, so if your object inspector for some reason is not showing up on your IDE, all you have to do is just come back to this place and just show it up. All right. So it's actually that simple. So there are a couple of tools here. We will also go into these tools much later into the lab series when we go get more in depth into it as well. Okay, so the focus of this session today, as well as the next few sessions, is going to be on the widgets. We're going to look at how you can make use of the different widgets, set up their properties, and how you can design good user experience for the dashboards using these widgets that are available. There are actually widgets here that are available because of the paid pro version. So if you do not have the pro version, then you might not have access to some of those features. So this communication part, basically, when it's connected to the display, it will actually let you know which part it can be connected to. So I currently have it connected to my USB hub, but it doesn't really detect it. So okay, so now it actually detected my port, so it will actually show that it's connected, which COM port. It will show the model, the version, as well as the amount, the size in your micro SD card. This is one of the things that actually, as a developer, hardware developer, I find it useful to be able to know how much memory am I using and how much memory do I still have as I'm actually building the application itself. Okay, so here, in terms of the project, you can choose whether you want the program to be loaded to the RAM, all right, or loaded to the flash. Obviously, loading to the flash is recommended because it doesn't, you won't lose the program when you power off the display for some reason. Yeah, and honestly, for best practices, I don't recommend putting a program in the RAM. The RAM it should be reserved for temporary variables and data that you need to store temporarily before sending it somewhere else. Okay, we are gonna take like a short 1-2 minutes break. I'm gonna go and grab some water for myself because my throat is feeling a little bit parched from talking. So I'm gonna come back in a couple of minutes. So yeah, consider it a toilet break. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so let's start working with a couple of basic stuff. Let's start with, okay, most simple thing, label. So all you have to do is just drag your display, as in your controls, your elements onto the display. So you'll be able to see in the object inspector the properties that are associated with the particular element, all right, control. Um, Obviously, the name is what you'll be using to control it or to set values to it, during the program execution itself. Alignment, auto sizing, one of the things that I sometimes, depending on how you want to design your display, you might want to have word wrap, enabled or not. Is really entirely up to you. Okay, okay, so normally for smart displays, it depends on what sort of information you want to showcase to people. So in certain cases, when you want the user to be more focused on a particular label, let's say we talk about temperature. So temperature is the main focus. Let's make it 30. No, maybe we'll just put it as 24. Okay, so let's change the caption to temperature. Let's put it, let's add a digit display. Although, sometimes from my experience, I find that it's also interesting to be able to use the labels themselves as the value display, so never mind. Let's just remove that for now and use a label. So this was 24. So when you want to select multiple items on your form, all right, just use shift and then you can click on the items to select more than one item. Okay, let's change the text to hmm, okay, let's add another label. Oops. I'm using a Mac, so sometimes the I get mixed up with the Control C from in Windows. Let's set as humidity. Okay, so we will always now it's always good to bear in mind if you are designing a display and the units that you want to display, how many digits is the max value. So when you are designing a display, in this case, my value, the number of significant digits are important. In this case, there's 4 significant digits, 2 decimal places. So always try to align your content um, to the right. The value you want to display, align it to the right. And then for the labels itself, try to create a bit more space so that if your value actually increases, say 80 and then 100 is 3 digits, you will need the extra space on your display. And you wouldn't want things to end up being overlap, or there's a jumble up in the display, and so on and so forth. So this UX design principle is actually pretty much the same in since way back when we were working on website designs and mobile app design and so on. So this is actually a similar principle, practical design practice to actually make sure you think about what sort of values you want to display. Okay, so if, say for example, I change this to 100, although probably there might not be ever be the case. So we can align it in such a way, and then we set the alignment to right. Okay, so if I were to change the value now, it will automatically align to the right, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so let's add something else. Let's add a thermometer. Okay, one thing about for these systems so far, what they have, which is what I like, is giving the developers the control on how you want to customize the display itself. Like in this case, I decide that, hey, I really don't like the gray in the background. I just want to uh, put it as black. And then my font, I want to set it as white. Um, Scale, which is the temperature scale itself, set it as white as well. So maximum value, we can say, let's just put 80. Minimum value, 0. Step for the temperature. So this is where you can set the number of steps for your temperature as well, small step as well as an actual step. So if you look at the display here, it shows you the bigger one is 20, right? So it's always 20 in between, right? So anyway, let's just change this and see what happens. So we'll adjust accordingly. So you can see, but honestly, for a really small smart display, I honestly don't recommend creating such a small step value. right? I would recommend that you put something bigger, because for users eye, especially if this is an industrial IoT display, in a real hazardous condition, or when there's an emergency and they need to refer to the display wherever it is, and they only have a quick moment to look, they won't have time to try and figure out which exact point it is on the temperature scale. They probably just want a rough estimate. So having a larger small step value would be good enough. Okay, so this step you can change to 10. I wouldn't recommend 10 actually. It's up to you, right? So just showing you what you can do with this and how you can work with it. Okay, so say for the temperature, maybe you want to change to green. Okay, so this will actually change the temperature gauge color to green, the indicator to green. So it's really up to you how you want to set it up for your display. But red is normally the best in terms of user experience. I'm just showing you that you can change the color. Although personally, for temperature displays, I don't recommend using any other color than red, because for people, usually in the UX perspective, red is associated with temperature, especially if you're looking at a reading like that. But you can configure the display to display green when it's at a particular range, and then maybe yellow if it reaches a dangerous temperature range, and then you can set it to red, and then or you can do a colorful rainbow, to set it in green, yellow, orange, red, and so on, and then the spectrum. So that is what you can do. Okay, so let's do humidity. So this humidity, this meter that I just added, you can change the colors if you want, set the scales. Okay, so maybe in terms of humidity, the higher humidity should be maybe green, because it's about to rain, and if it's really hot weather and you want people to be alerted, it's getting really hot, then you can set the reverse. So let's do the reverse here. Actually, you can set the color from here as well. You can choose, so it's probably easier if you just want the more mainstream colors. So maybe we want to set the values slightly differently. So let's do as maybe 25, 50, or maybe no, let's put 25. So now you can see that I have my humidity meter. Right, let's Let's do something interesting. Let's change the name. Now we can display our humidity reading as well. Okay. So these are things that you can do with the display. The next thing that I want to do right now is I want to actually copy the code that I have created. But before we copy the code, we are going to uncomment code. I will not explain the 4DGL coding. I won't go into yet in this session. There will be time in the future sessions for us to go into that. First, we're going to save the project. Okay, let's give it a new folder. And we will name our project using the same name as the folder. Okay, so once that is done, you will notice that the coding that was previously commented would automatically be updated with the relevant files that it should be pointing to when you are building and programming the display. Okay, so now we can actually paste the code. So I'll start by doing one. Actually, I can just do all now. It's a lot easier. For the form, you can actually paste all the code, and you watch what happens. Everything that I need has been automatically created for me. So, okay, let's save. And then we're going to, what I'm going to do is that you won't see it on the screen, obviously. What I'm doing, I'm going to take the memory card out from the display module. And I am going to connect it to my workstation. Okay. Okay, we're gonna, if you have any other programs in your memory card, we'll just delete it at this point. Next, we're gonna compile and load. And we're gonna choose E drive. Okay, there are some errors. Mm, yes. compile and load again. Okay. So it shows that float is not supported, so never mind, it's fine. Then we have some other errors. Okay, now let's. Okay, let's compile. Okay, so everything is okay now. Okay, so once that is done, okay, hang on. I am going to stop sharing and we're going to go back to the hardware itself. Okay, so you'll see that it says the drive is not mounted, which is clear because we were just loading the program onto the micro SD card. So I actually have this little nice Kingston micro SD drive. This actually came with uh, the Curie Neurons kit by DF Robot. Really, really handy. So I've been using this all the time, but I need to load a program into a micro SD card. So I am going to load the program into the back of the display module. Okay, it should load the program. For some reason, it doesn't seem to mount properly. Let me just hang on. Okay, probably something in the program that I'm not doing right. I am going to try and load the Okay, so yeah, I was just trying to test the micro SD card. I'm going to take out the micro SD card to program it. Okay, let me just. Okay. I sort of removed the program to try and program it again. Ah, sorry. Oh, yay! We got it working. Okay, so I realized why I didn't get it to work the very first time. Basically, what happened was I compiled the program, I loaded it into the micro SD card. But the one thing that I did not do after plugging the micro SD card back into the display is that I need to click the download button so that it will download the program onto the flash memory. So you can see here, what we have done in the IDE as well. Let's see if it's focusing properly. I do apologize that during the live stream, If the webcam doesn't focus very well sometimes, for that I'm truly sorry. I apologize, but it will definitely get better and improve in future sessions. But yeah, I guess what I really wanted to do here, just to show you how you can actually design a interface, your very first user interface, using Workshop 4 IDE, and then loading your display onto the hardware itself. All right. So we have demonstrated that. So that part is great. Like I said beforehand, during before the session started, one of the things that I will be doing for all future lab sessions is that there will be a so-called post-session pre-recorded video that will be tagged to the post-session articles. So these pre-recorded videos will actually not have that much issues with the refocusing and autofocusing, especially webcam. The thing is, I used to have proper DSLR cameras that would allow me to easily set the focus, turn off autofocus and lock the focus and so on. So it's a lot easier to control with those equipment. But with this, yeah, it's a little bit more challenging. Now, sorry if it doesn't look very nicely, from the streaming perspective. But if I could find a way to focus it right now using my hand manually, then yeah, I think it'll be good. Just to show you what it looks like when it's clear. So I think when I actually try to use my hand to focus the display to bring it up close, it looks better. So with this, you can see the actual display. So you can see that the values that I've set initially in the IDE, it will actually show the indicator of the temperature, right, that is currently. So if I were to scroll down to the IDE, if you were to look at the IDE itself, I'm just taking the physical camera up to show, so I had to share the screen again. So it will show that the temperature, the temperature here is 20. This is actually the value of the temperature. And then this is actually the humidity level. Okay, so with that, I think I will probably want to end the session here. I know that the quality itself hasn't been that good. I'm just going to lay out. Okay, I know that the quality hasn't been very good for this session, and things will definitely get better. That is one thing I can promise to the viewers and learners. Um, I will get familiar with this Logitech webcam. It's meant to be really good. I read the reviews. It's meant to be good for live streaming usage. But because I just bought this yesterday over the weekend, I haven't really had enough time to actually uh, play around with this Logitech webcam and being familiarized with the different controls and settings and so on. So if during this session there was something that can be done better, I will definitely improve on it. I think it's very clear because I can see it for myself as well. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your time. Yeah, and I hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. Do note that tomorrow we will have another lab series starting off. Tomorrow's lab series will be, let's see, tomorrow is Tuesday. So Tuesday we are going to have, hang on, my website is loading. The thing of using a VM, although it's convenient and I really appreciate the software which I'm using, is by its parallels for Mac. I appreciate the software and what I can do. But if you ask me, with a MacBook and the lack of performance, it's such a lag and sometimes it's so frustrating. Okay, so tomorrow the session will be on microbit. The title will be Unleash the Inventor in You. We are going to talk about what the lab series will be, and then we're going to introduce the two different learning tracks, which is one for the makers, the students, another one for the educators. So educators will get to learn during the lab series about some of the techniques they can use to explain certain concepts and the projects and so on, project ideas and so on. All right. So that is going to be live tomorrow. Okay, and then on Wednesday it'll be the Let's Get Electronics panel pilot lab series. We kind of postponed last week's session, so this week we will officially be kickstarting the first session. And then finally on Thursday this week, we're gonna have the Learning Electronics with Adapt. This is by Adapt Studio. So I do have two of the kits that they send me. I've already requested for more. Obviously, for the lab series, I will need more hardware. So once those hardware come in, we will be well covered for at least the first 3 months. All right. So with that, thank you very much, guys. I know that this live lab session, there were some hiccups along the way, but we definitely got the display working. So that is definitely a good thing for this session. And obviously for whoever is watching this rebroadcast, I thank you for taking out the time to actually watch the session. Know that there will be a pre-recorded session, as I was mentioning earlier. So this pre-recorded video will be tagged onto the follow-up companion article. All right. So make sure to stay tuned for that article. I will be posting it on all our social media pages and feeds. So it will be available to anyone, anywhere, as long as you follow us. All right. That's all for tonight. At least my time zone is night. So for you, I wish you a great day ahead. If it's morning, if it's afternoon, I wish you a great evening. And yeah, God bless you. Bye.